I'm Sarah Lester, the proud director of the Maplewood Memorial Library. Maplewood is a community of readers and writers, many of whom are in this room. Over 21,000 Maplewood residents have a library card. That's close to 84% of our town. It's National Library Week, and today is National Library Workers' Day. So I'd like all of our library staff to thank them all for putting this festival together and for the work they do every day defending your right to read and to access information. I'd also like to acknowledge the trustees and the foundation members who are here. If you would please stand.
Yeah.
And I would like to acknowledge past literary award winners who are here with us today. We have Maria Budos. The Maplewood Library Foundation, the Friends of the Maplewood Library, Birds Bookstore, that is here with us. And so it's a big thank you to you. You sponsored the festival every year and have contributed to our capital campaign. So thank you and Ellen very much. And finally, the Maplewood Women's Club. Tonight, we are honoring the novelist, Eliza Minot. My family and I moved to Maplewood in 2006, a few weeks after the release of Eliza's second novel, The Brambles. And I started working at the library in 2007. Until the library closed, Eliza was a regular at the old main library, writing in a quiet room or at the table in the lower stacks. We tried not to bother her, but we couldn't help asking if she was working on her next novel. The years have passed, with chaos living around the edges, but amazement and wonder too. 1 kid in high school and 3 in college, a master's degree, and many years spent teaching writing. And today, Eliza's beautiful novel, In the Orchard, is here. I'd like to introduce our mayor, Mayor Dean Daphnis.
Please join me in giving a rousing applause to our library director, Sarah Lester. Thank you, Sarah, and to the entire team for putting together an amazing Ideas Festival. There's a lot of great things coming throughout the week and this weekend, so go to the website and check those out. And thank you all for joining us here tonight. I see some familiar faces and some new faces. How many people have been in this room before? Raise your hands. All right, I love to hear that. This is where the magic happens. This is our general assembly room. And tonight we're going to do not governance, but different kinds of magic. We're going to honor one of our great writers right here in our little town of Maplewood. And I'm really, really proud to be part of that. I have the honor of presenting our literary award recipient this evening with a very special proclamation. And I'm honored to do so not only as a mayor, so this isn't just transactional for me, I'm also a fan of Eliza's work, and I do so on a personal level because I'm a voracious reader and have deeply profound respect for writers. I hope to be one myself. I'm going to pen a book soon. Look out for that. So the great writers like Eliza are keen observers of the human human experience, with a striking ability to articulate with precision and sincerity our inner selves, our inner thoughts, our anxieties, our ambivalence, our regrets, our aspirations, our excitement. It's the little mundane things of everyday life where the bigger and most important things of who we are and who we are capable of being are found or revealed. Today, Eliza released her third novel, In the Orchard, and it was released to, yet again, critical acclaim. Congratulations. As her two previous novels were. The New York Times described the new novel as compassionate and lyrical. Her writing has appeared in a variety of magazines and anthologies, and her books have been named to various lists. In addition to the New York Times notable books, also Books at 76, Nancy's Pearls, and Oprah's Top 10 Summer Picks. So Eliza, even with the New York Times, when you get Oprah, you made it, right? Okay. Eliza went to Barnard College and received her MFA in 2017 from Rutgers, Newark, where she was a presidential fellow. She has taught at Barnard College, but also at Rutgers, Newark, and at NYU. She's a recipient of a New Jersey State Artist Fellowship and was on the short list for the Notting Hill Editions Essay Prize, top prize worth £20,000. She grew up the youngest of 7 children. No wonder you observe the human experience so well. She grew up in Manchester by the Sea in Massachusetts, and she lives in Maplewood with her family. It was with great honor and respect that I, Dean Davis, the mayor of our great town of Maplewood, on behalf of the Maplewood Township Committee, and I am joined here tonight by former mayor, my dear colleague, Vic DeLuca. Vic, thank you for joining us. I do hereby proclaim April 23rd, 2023, Eliza Minot Day in the Township of Maplewood.
Susan Minot is an award-winning novelist, short story writer, poet, playwright, and screenwriter. She also grew up with 6 siblings who are all in Manchester by the Sea, Massachusetts. Her first novel, Monkeys, was published in 12 countries to critical acclaim. She wrote the screenplay for Bernardo Bertolucci's Stealing Beauty, and her novel, Evening, nominated for the LA Book Award, was a worldwide bestseller and became a major motion picture in 2007. Her stories have received O. Henry Awards and inclusion in many anthologies, including the Best American Short Stories. Her 8th book, a collection of stories, Why I Don't Write and Other Stories, was published in 2020. Eliza and Susan.
Yeah, I'll leave, maybe I'll gather that a little better. But we've been here 22 years. So I've also never stepped foot in this room, I'm afraid. I've seen it on TV screen. I'm familiar with it, but here I am. Super, super pleased and honored. Susie?
I can't tell whether I'm like her mother or sister or father or I'm so happy to be here and to celebrate Eliza. It is the fact that it's her book publication day today, which is the day that the book is, released into the world. It's pretty good timing. It's very great to see her family here in the front. Not all of them, because there are many, many, many of them, but good contingent here in the front row. So, I'm really, really happy to be here. Eliza and I could just chit-chat for a long, long time. So we tried to give ourselves a little bit of some way to organize, which is that she might read a little bit from the book, just to give a sample. Maybe a few little places here and there. Not long. There's only, we're not here to sort of drift off into dreamland. So, do you want to read a little from the book?
I will. I'll read. This is the first time I'm reading too from this, so I hadn't really given it, not that I hadn't given it much thought, but this is sort of an obvious, I'm looking out at the field where similarly this is a story. Let me just say what it's about first. It's a day. It's a young mother that's just given birth to, 2 weeks prior, has given birth to a baby. It begins, she's nursing in bed in the middle of the night, wee hours of the morning. And then we follow her thoughts into flashback, thinking about her girlhood, her grandmother, her mother died when she was little, her brother, her father, like memories and stuff, just musings. And then this family, there are 3 other children and a husband, they go to an orchard in the second half of the book. Now, if that sounds like a snore, it's not. There's a lot of shooting off of the day, So, one little part, which here we are at Town Hall, there is a soccer game of little preschool people playing on a green with a similar Town Hall situation as here. And the mother, who is named Maisie, is thinking about how this is her community now. So I thought, it's not that far of a reach from where we're sitting. Okay, yes, I'll just read quickly. I won't read quickly, but Maisie looked up and down the sidelines. There were a few babysitters, a couple of dads, but mostly it was moms, all of whom had managed to get up again, like every day, and whether they liked it or not, dressed not only themselves, but also whatever small human beings they were in charge of, finding the socks, finding the shoes, getting lunch packed for whatever older kids were heading off to school, some picky eaters with their lunches or rolled up pieces of cheese and de-shelled pistachios, some not so picky, happy with pre-bought snack bags. Some of the mothers surely were up throughout the night, tending to an infant, nursing, feeding, changing, responding to every single thing. Others were up throughout the night, arguing with their partners in the confines of their bedroom, exchanging nasty repartees or out-and-out name-calling over money, or their hustled division of labor, or arguing about sex, jealousies, or extended family dynamics. Still others were more than likely sitting up in the bathroom with a toddler or tween who was vomiting into the bathtub or coughing a croupy cough while the shower clogged up the room. Or they were sleeping in a kid's bed because the kid woke from a bad dream. Others surely slept solidly after making love, holding each other. Most of these men and women had even worked already today, sitting down at their laptops or shouting orders into telephones before the sun was up, Many of them were gone into their workday, near or far, but not here. Yet some of them had made it. Was it such a priority? To this little kid's soccer practice at this classic American park, even though the kids themselves might have been dragged along. They had all made it here at this practice, and were each looking out over the autumnal suburban scene with their various thoughts in their heads. Maisie thought of all of them, looking here and there. Her mind wandered, slack with pregnancy, thinking of the lives of these parental figures, standing sentry like cut boxwoods, watching over their charges.
We are going to be taking questions after, so as you're listening to Eliza read or us talk, and you think of anything, please feel free. This is, hometown welcome.
That's right. You just shout it out, as I say in my classes.
Maybe not. I did remember that in that passage we talked about some of the things Eliza was going to read, but when you say, Maisie, her mind wandered, that could be I would say, a reiteration almost on every page of this book, right? It's the story of a woman who, I would say, happens to be a mother. She happens to be nursing her fourth child. She happens to be living in New Jersey. But what's really going on in this book is a incredibly perceptive, wandering mind that puts certain words on things. You'll see if you read it, that you're like, oh yeah, I didn't ever quite think that way, but it's really like that. So that's I would say, the deepest pleasure of this book, and I just wanted to remind people of that, because we talk about books, oh, it's about a mother, it doesn't even take place in a whole day, actually. As Eliza pointed out, it ends at about 1 p.m. So it's a half a day.
But it begins at maybe 2 a.m. Early. We don't cover lunch.
We don't even cover lunch. So just for a straightforward, obvious question, before I sort of ask you about general life as a writer, since you're being honored here for that tonight, what, dare I say, was the sort of kernel of this book? And can you trace it back? Particularly, I know this is always interesting to hear if you're trying to write, or to be reminded of if you write, or just interesting when you read, is to see the incredibly circuitous route that a book takes in its development. So do you want to tell us a little bit of that?
Yes, I mean, a medium-long answer is that initially this book had a title called American Standard, and it was about the housing crisis. And it was going to be a big family, many siblings, people in crisis. I mean, I don't even remember how I summarized it, but that was sort of what I had begun working on. And the title, I was reading the New York Times, and you all will probably remember it, like 2007, 2008, whenever it was, there was like a pullout that was 2 pages wide of like home equity debt going off the entire 2 pages together. And we had a toilet that said American Standard, and those 2 things together, I thought, that will be my book. Yeah. And so I did write a lot. Some of that ended up in here, but not a lot of it at all. And since I was just steeped in kind of child rearing for many years, sounds, because people don't care, really, usually. I don't, you know, but I thought I do care, and I do see sort of the poetry and the high stakes of it. It sort of seemed to underline all the important mysteries of being alive that things didn't before. Not that I needed to have kids to see that, but I just feel like as a writer, it seemed like such rich territory that I also felt like I needed to sort of get it out of the way. But the ending, this will make everyone have to go read it. Or
She said before, she goes, I'm tempted to read the end.
But I do. I read in bookstores. I often read just the last 3 sentences. I mean, it doesn't give it away. It's just sort of the tone of what you're heading towards. Or something. I did write this kind of the last maybe 2 sentences I had in my head years ago. So that was a kernel that
That you stuck with.
yeah.
Yeah, often where you end up is sort of can be a good guiding thing, and you just have no idea of all the roads you take and not go there, and then you come back, and just because you were sort of, there's a part of the book where you reiterate what you just described.
Yes.
Do you want to read that part?
The part.
It's that part near
The part that the New York Times quoted.
the seminal part.
Well, it's like we were
Read a little bit before it.
Okay. Okay, so this moment is Maisie is at the apple orchard, and her family is kind of elsewhere, like over at the apple tables or whatever. So I guess she has her newborn in a thing, but the newborn isn't active, so you don't need to know.
But I will just add that the other family members have wandered off to go look at things, but she's starting to feel a little dizzy, a little overwhelmed. Like there's a mounting sort of, is she just tired? Is she okay? Right? So there's, even if she's carrying on the baby, there's a little bit of something disorienting going on.
Yes. So actually, the family is sort of they're about to head off, but it doesn't matter. She's standing by herself here. Okay, Maisie. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. So there's a little girl. Okay, from her perch. Is that too long? No. Okay, from her perch.
Cross the other sister.
Sorry. I need it sometimes with this kind of decision. From her perch on the hay bale, the little girl again kicks off her light-up sneaker. This is just a stranger sitting here, like a little girl. Okay. Her light-up sneaker again falls to the ground. Maisie watches it fall gently into a nest of straw-like matted grass. Its pink lights continue blinking even after it is still. Up to you, the older man shrugs to her. Barefoot's okay, but be careful, you might step in dog poop, he tells her quietly. Lots of dogs pooping all over this place. He looks at Maisie and smiles. The little girl also looks at Maisie. Maisie nods. Lots of dogs, she says quietly. I'm scared of dogs, said the little girl, cowering. Can't win, the man shrugs. No, laughs Maisie. It's a lot easier when they're your grandkids, he says, and not your kids. Maisie nods. I bet. Though the idea is as abstract as becoming a mother was abstract before it happened. She didn't know anything about it. She didn't know who these people, her children, were. She didn't even know what sort of a person she would become, and how could she have? How can anyone have any real idea of what will happen next? She doesn't know who she will be. She doesn't know that the decades, by the time she is a grandmother, if she is ever a grandmother, will have merged together like an accordion, and that they will expand like an accordion as well, with varied memories plaintively drawing out of the melancholic chords of merged time, the merged styles of the times, music of the times, and trends in clothing and colors and fads, all background to her own strangely particular moments. She does not know that she will grow wiser, only by learning not to hide from pain and difficulty, and learning how to sit back and listen. She doesn't know that even a decade later, she will still feel her milk drop when she thinks of her infants, when she hears a hungry baby cry. She does know one thing, though, that she didn't used to know, that the special, close attention that she is learning to pay towards her children is actually toward her own heart and her own universe. She is learning that the closer she gets to their small smells, their little humor and mischief and verve, the closer she is getting to an unfound mystery, hitting it from time to time like a vein of gold, a trickle-thin branch of a mother lode, vibrant and dazzling in dark rock.
The whole book is like that. I mean, it's interspersed with like a lot of humor, a lot of people talking about being a parent, but the internal voice in the book is kind of amazing. So I guess I'll ask just a general question of what made you start writing?
Oh, well, I had an older sister. My mother died. I was 7 years old. She was 13. There were, as you learned earlier.
No, I was 20.
Oh, you were 20. Oh, 13, yes. That was our brother. It was 14 down to 7. Well, she was 20 and she was writing in the back, down the hall on her typewriter. Is that why I started writing? I don't know. We have a brother who's a writer also, but she published her first book when I was 15. And so
It was just an easy thing that you do.
Even I do remember, like, for my mother, taking little pads of paper and turning them sideways and making them into books, like, you know, as a little person, and that was when I was 5 or 6. Like, it was just, I loved books. I loved books. And then when I have a sister who writes them, it's like, oh, that's possible. And in school, it was what I was often good at, and so that was encouraging too. So that's 4 different answers.
Yes, I can give a sort of, overview to this, which is interesting, is that I think one of the reasons I'm so pleased about this award today is I think it's taken her a long time. Yes, she's written 3 books, but she sort of hasn't really believed she's really writing that much, or she's raising her children more, but the amount of attention and commitment that it takes to not only write and finish a book, but write and finish a good book is, you hide your light under a rock. I don't know why I'm telling you all this, but just to say that this honor today is, I hope it just gets, through to you a little bit. It's amazing writing. I'm going to open it up to questions. I can keep on talking on and on, but let's hear from you. Anyone?
Oh, I'm going to go first. First, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is what a great day for you, and subsequently for us. This is a pleasure to be here. I'm a writer as well. I'm always curious with writers. Do you have any writing rituals? Every time you sit down, do you do the same things? Talk to us.
I have to mention this quiet rooms. I mean, those were a big part of my, not ritual, I guess, you know what, during COVID, I had more of a ritual because our house was so crowded. And I did get a lot done because I'm like hemming and hawing because I don't really have one. No, I think my family would even tell you when I'm sitting at the dining room table with the laptop open, it's like I'm often am not doing anything. I'm like looking at, Amazon or whatever. But it's like, it's sort of, what is she doing? It's like I'm working, But yes, I just try to, I do write stuff down on my phone, and I write stuff down in little booklets, things. And that also might be why this is sort of full of, not disjointed, because it's very smooth. It's not disjointed at all. The sort of things getting put together, because I would write like that.
When you said before, why aren't more books written about child rearing? I think it's because it takes a lot of time to raise children. And so the time that some people need to write are big, not just the 2 or 3 hours that you're at your desk, but the sort of 2 hours on either side where you're wandering in the days and you're cleaning the floor or whatever. And you're sort of in the state of composing, or you're thinking through on something. That's not when writing gets done. Don't ever. You have to sit there and you have to have your pen going. But I think Eliza has been a master of just catching it, like her family would say. Is she writing now? I don't know. Maybe she did today. Maybe
It was 15 years. Let's put it that way. It's not like, I was so productive. It's like it was over a long.
While she was raising 4 children.
Yeah, but it wasn't like.
We're on your side.
Yes. But now that this is my 3rd novel, I can say that part of what I write, my first novel there, my mother did die when I was a little girl, and it's not really her, and it's not really me, but there's vibes about it that for me helped me to remember things that I wanted to not forget. And similarly, there was a lot of things I didn't really want to forget. It wasn't like keeping a big book, but I don't know. It was like that, like kind of trying to keep all that recorded, almost more like a journalist. Do you know what I mean? Not the actual things happening, but like the whatever.
Well, like you just said, why wasn't this written about more?
Yeah.
And I think that's the material that, each writer sort of thinks, why hasn't anyone really talked about this thing that I've experienced? And that's what you want to bring to your book, right? The thing, or your material, or your story, or whatever. It's the thing that you've seen a slightly different version of, but you happen to have, since you're unique, this very particular thing. And I think, in this book you can see that Eliza, who has a writer's sensibility, a poet's, sort of mastery of words, just happened to have 4 children. So that's what she was going to sort of study and look at really closely, right?
Yeah.
That was your material.
That was my material. It was my material. Very well said. Because it's certainly not, if I was going to write a memoir about motherhood, in my experience, it would be very different. But the material is, totally. I don't know what, I'd be crazy to write about anything else after. In a way.
Something like you said, you know so well that you haven't seen it quite written about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, 2 siblings, both extremely accomplished writers. Do you share your drafts with one another? Do you give each other notes? And what is that process like? Is it contentious? How do you work through that? If in fact you share with each other.
We don't much. Not like because, don't look at that. But it's just like,
Not early on.
Okay.
no, like I gave her this after I turned it in. But not like, don't feel you need to do this. It's not like I got it, and then when other siblings were reading, she's like, oh, I got it too. you know, like, it's, the feedback is important to me for sure, but I'm shy, not shy, but I kind of want to finish stuff before I show it to
But
them.
I will, for instance, if she writes a shorter piece, and she'll be, maybe I could sell this some, or whatever, I'll read her, I mean, it's not as if we.
Yeah, oh God, it's not like, don't look at, did you ever talk about it? Like, no, it's not.
No, it's not processed so much as, here's this thing I've done. And,
We share an editor, even.
Ah.
So, I mean, in terms of contentiousness,
it's not contentious. Or that would be really perverse if it was contentious and she like wanted me to be here.
yeah.
Right? Sort of what I imagine in my head.
Yes. I mean, I wonder if for our family, we were only 3 of us, it might be
If
different.
it all were writing.
No, if our relationship would be more competitive or something, or, you know what I mean? I doubt it.
Well, like she said, I mean, I think this is an important part of her history. I was 20 years old when her mother was killed in an accident. And she was 7. So she was semi like my child for a while. You know, I was very protective of her. I have 2 sisters on either side of me, a year away. We were very, you know, she was the baby. So
Then it's boys, there's 3 boys.
there were 3 boys in between that were
Teenagers.
Mhm. So I think that's part of what forged our earliest relationship, yeah. Any other questions, thoughts? Yes?
So I'll ask a literary question, and you can tell me if it's
So
like
she
apt.
gets us into the world.
Yes, I see it.
So I guess one day, a mother, a woman, sort of small moments. Is there a Virginia Woolf connection, Mrs. Dalloway? Or if not, are there influences or writers that have informed your method? Or just inspired your method, let's say?
You know, I have never read an entire Virginia Woolf book. But I know I'm influenced by her, do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's not like I am so into her but someone did point out, our editor actually, on the first page, there are exclamation points,
Yes.
like Mrs. Dalloway. I was like, I don't know if I haven't even read Mrs. Dalloway, but clearly I've read the beginnings, because when I read the beginning, I'm like, that feels familiar. I wouldn't say she's a huge influence to me, even though I get it. Big influences.
Or just inspiration.
Yes, I mean, I'm thinking of like books that I was reading before, like I've been reading other books that like mothers have been writing. Like I'm reading The Nursery right now, which Sylvia Moldon is her name, and What Aaron's is wonderful, 11 Hours, which was fantastic. Our hometown, Maplewood, Oregon. But these were all after I wrote it. But Rachel Cusk's A Life's Work, and even outline in those, I was thinking, yeah, she doesn't have a plot, you know, and it's okay. I mean, I wander differently than that, but I did kind of gobble those up. Thinking of what else, good question, Marina, because what was I reading like when I was writing this? It's over so many years, but really I wrote it in the last, like, during COVID mostly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be what you were reading. It's just
No, but the books that I really, that I love, like, even, you know, Mrs. Bridge. James Salter, like Light Years or Revolutionary Road. I mean, I'm thinking of like suburbia stuff because that's sort of, I love those books.
I think that Virginia Woolf was, I think she's started, or she did most sort of maybe revolutionarily and beautifully, that internal, like, okay, we're just going to be with this character for a day, and we're going to see all her thoughts interspersed with the things that are going along in the day, and I think she offered that as a banquet to all the sort of writers who followed her, who kind of do different versions of that, I think I think so many people have taken,
It's like the commission.
that, yeah, like Rachel Cusk, I would say, or
Dennis Johnson, this is totally just because but Jesus' son, Dennis Johnson, is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just because it's stuck that way for so long, and I still like it so much. Sorry, I just thought of that one.
Yes.
That was
no, and that's a poet writing these like almost sometimes surreal stories,
Yeah.
which I think there's. Did that reviewer say anything about the surreal aspect of In the Orchard? I don't know. Someone will.
No. Well, there's no, as you said, you don't really, well, not to give away anything. The ending, things. Mary, my neighbor.
So for 20 years, we didn't really know each other. We're neighbors, hi and hello. But tonight, I didn't know you had such a sense of humor. Because you're just such a you are always so serious and put together, and I'm not. So very opposite. And you've always hidden your husband because I like to tease him. She's very loyal to him, and she pushes, he's not home. Moving right along. Did your children find themselves? Do they read your books, or do they say, hey, Ma, don't put that in, or, oh.
They didn't read it. No, they have, supposedly my oldest did, and he said he read it very quickly. And there
Well, just come out today.
The other.
Yeah, that's
She had an advance copy.
Yeah.
They've picked it up, let's put it that way. No, I don't think, I think there's things that they recognize, but like I said, it's not, it's not like, that happened, and that, there's not.
So
Maybe
you wouldn't,
stuffed animals, they might recognize the name
right,
of.
you wouldn't consider it off limits to not write something. In other words, this is too personal, and we're going to leave that out.
Definitely would not write things that are too personal.
There's a lot that's off
I think
limits.
most
Yeah.
things of, Yes.
Why don't we take one more question, and I will give you time to sign books.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the book publishing business, but after you wrote your second novel, were you on the hook for the next one? And then when it took so long, what does that feel like? What was that like?
Good intuition. I have, because my first two books I sold. I wrote them and then sold them to my editor. This one I wrote maybe 70 pages, and it was that kind of big one called American Standard. It was going to be about, it was kind of a different thing. And I sold it without having written it. So I wasn't hanging out to dry, because I'm not like Anne Rice or someone who they're waiting for, it wasn't some huge contract that. My editor also is just a wonderful person and a mother, and would be very encouraging in terms of it wasn't their problem, it was mine, but it was like, you do what you need to do. So I was super, super, super lucky. If I never delivered it,
see that, I mean, except if you're Anne Rice, I guess, but, you know, the scene in the movie where the editor's like, they need it in by, you know, or the agent's like, they need the book, and, you know, if only. I'm saying, you gotta get this in. Yeah, they're too busy, yeah. It's not what I was, but also, I mean, I think our editor, Jordan, she actually was talking about this the other night and saying how she had, and I think Eliza was something, I think, well, she's just my friend, so she's saying this. And she was like, nope, I'm not saying this as your friend, I'm saying this as your editor. I respect the way that you are living your life, and I feel like that's going to make sure that that good book comes. So she's rare that way. She took that into consideration.
Yeah. I mean, super, super lucky.
Well, we're so lucky to have you here tonight, and I'd like to give Eliza and Susan a big round of applause. Now's your chance to buy a book, and Eliza will be signing right up front, and I welcome you all back tomorrow night for Seth Abramson and Todd Abramson, a jazz versus rock, also a sibling duo. And then on Saturday, Michelle Miller, the CBS Saturday Morning Host, will be in conversation with Cookie Minnick Mason, and she'll be talking about her book Belonging, which is also a book about motherhood. And so I invite all of you back for that. Thank you all, and thank you so much.